I had battle scars to prove it. The stress of that, coupled with my first round of breast cancer, left me empty and damaged, and I was afraid. I had succumbed to fear, and I let it paralyze me. Was I going to let it paralyze me like it did my mom, who lived through 18 years of physical abuse before empowering herself to leave my father? I became hopeless, and after being mobbed, I felt I had no more fight left in me, and I began to accept everyone else's opinion of me as a truth. And when I was ostracized, and when I was defamed, and when I really struggled, I didn't know who I was. I was isolated and I was alone. Ron was gone because he was deployed. My family members were going through their own shit at the time, and I became reclusive to cope. And I dressed like a homeless person, and I went out at night, and I hid from the world. And I believed the false narrative because it was the sound of their voices that was so deafening. And in my emptiness and in my self-loathing, I realized I only had one thing to offer this world. Now, I spent a lot of time with homeless people in that phase of my life, and I realized the only thing I had left to offer was a sympathetic ear and maybe a little bit of hope. And a couple of times during this time, I'd get asked for money. And on one particular instance where I gave a guy some change, he got upset that I didn't give him a $5 bill. And that made me pretty mad. So I thought to myself, what can I do in this instance? As I was emotionally empty, people were continuously asking things of me in every turn. Family, friends, homeless, on and on. So I decided to make some paper hearts. And every time someone asked me for something, whether it was for help or for money or asked me to do something on their behalf, I chose to give them a paper heart. And on that paper heart, there were words of encouragement. Sure, I had homeless and sometimes entitled persons throw them back in my face. But since that's all I had to offer, that's all I had to give. One day I pulled up to the on-ramp of the freeway at I-10 and 7th Avenue. And there was a man with a sign asking for food and water or for whatever it was he wanted. And as I rolled down my window and handed him that heart, the man opened it and read it. And he began to cry. Now that particular heart said, "You're important." That is all I had to offer was my kindness. I was trying really hard to connect with humanity in the only way that I could, while still trying to heal within the surroundings of my city. And as luck would have it, I came across a Facebook post about a storytelling event. And I went to that storytelling event per Facebook notification, but alas, Facebook told me wrong, as it was the day prior, and I had missed it, and I really needed it. So I planned to attend the following week, and I did. And I sat in the back, and I listened. I found solace. I heard stories of victory. I heard stories of quality of life. I heard stories of perseverance over rejection. And in that, I began to question my acceptance of the opinions of others that they had put on me. There are those that have the might and courage, and there are those that steal. Those who look fear in the face, and those who attempt to steal another's story. Which are you? Are you strong enough to find your truth, or do you accept another's opinion as fact? It was in that environment, in a caring, compassionate, safe place to share my soul, I unveiled who I was again. That place unburdened me from the bullshit narrative I came to accept. Just know this. We all have a purpose. See, someone had a purpose, and that purpose couldn't be fulfilled any other way. And if I remember it right, correct me if I'm wrong, but that young woman was struggling to find her truth. She was insecure, but she had a need to tell the truth, and she saw the same need in others. And by empowering others, she empowered herself. Certainly, there was fear. There was a fear that people wouldn't show up, that people would totally judge, that people would reject. But nonetheless, the fear of what could happen wasn't as great as the need. She wasn't going to let anything stop her and keep her from her truth. So let's that be the takeaway from this storytelling event, that no matter what, you, all of you, are important. No matter what has happened to you, no matter what bullshit is thrown at you, No matter who steals from you, you are significant, and you can overcome anything you put your focus to. You can find your way back to. Thank you, Jess, for empowering others to speak their truth. It's truly been a very healing, growing experience and endeavor for countless individuals, and I am so very blessed to have been a part of it. Thank you.
Keep it going for Nicole. Good evening, Chatterbox. I am your co-host, Estevan Pina. Hello. We're going to go ahead, and we're a little cramped on time, so we're just going to go ahead and introduce the next storyteller. Please help me welcome somebody who, like her namesake, helps brighten up the stage every time she comes up here with her genuinely amazing smile and her sincere nature. Please help me welcome Joy.
Thank you, Esteban. That was really sweet. I appreciate that. And just full disclosure, like I have on an emotional scale of 1 to 10, this sweet spot of like 4 to 6 where I don't cry. So this is a big night, so there might be some tears. I'm just giving you a pre-warning on that one. But when I was little, when I was young, I had a voice. It was strong. I had opinions, and it didn't matter who I was talking to. I would tell them exactly how I felt. The first story that I remember that my mom loves to share is when she says I was 2.5. I mean, it was a big event, so I remember some things about it, but for me to be 2.5, remember it, it's pretty big. But we were in California visiting my aunt and my cousin, who is about the same age as my sister. They're about 4 years older than me, so they were 6, and I was 2.5, and we were all sitting at dinner. My cousin's dad, who was this oil rigger, mean kind of guy who was, just kind of tough from Texas, made us all steaks for dinner. And the adults were sitting at the big adult table. My aunt was there, my mom, my cousin's grandma was there. And her dad, Red, that was his nickname because he had red hair. I'm surrounded by redheads in my family. But Red had made steaks for everyone, and he had already eaten his dinner and was sitting in a recliner. And so the adults were at the big table, and us 3 girls, my sister, my cousin, and I were sitting at the little kid table in the apartment, close to the living room, and my cousin didn't want to eat her steak. It was well done. It was tough. It was a big steak. She was little, and so she was complaining that she didn't want to eat her steak. And so Red said, well, no, Katie, you need to eat your steak. If Katie doesn't eat her steak, then everyone else gets dessert, but Katie doesn't get any. And so my cousin's grandma said, Katie, honey, come over here and bring your steak. I'll cut it up for you. And so she did, and she started, trying to eat some steak. And Red said, nope, Katie doesn't get any steak. And something in me, the injustice, the frustration in my 2.5-year-old body just shot up out of the table. My little plastic chair flipped to the back. And I walked right over to him in his recliner, and I said, shut up, Wed, and I mean it. And don't smoke cigarettes, Red, and I mean it. The entire room went silent, and my mom, with just a horror and disgrace, swooped me up and took me to my cousin's room. And she was about to spank me, and then she stopped, and she was like, hell no. She had the courage to tell this man what everyone else wanted to say, but didn't have the balls to do it. So he sat in there, and I didn't see him again until my cousin graduated from junior high 11 years later. But another story that is often told about me was one of my older brother's friends down the street, who's 13 years older than me, 6 foot tall boy, would pick on me all the time and just tease me, little kid. And I would often call him and just get so frustrated. And I would say, Bobbi, you're a boff bag and a fought face, and I hate you. And the other one that I can remember is when I was hanging out with my nephew. I'm a baby of 7, so there's a large spread. So I have a nephew that's actually older than me by a few months, but he and I were best friends. And there was one summer that I can remember where we hung out all the time. And we were really into playing the bushwhackers from one of those professional wrestling teams where you like stomp around and like wave your hands. And so I wanted to be like a team. I wanted to look just like him. That's what the tag team wrestlers do. So I thought, at the time I had this gorgeous curly long hair like down to my butt. And I thought, I want to get my hair cut like a boy like Alex. So I went into my mom and I had my hair in a side ponytail. And she was in the kitchen. And I don't know if I played this out just right, but I went in there and I said, Mom, I want to cut my hair. And she said, no, Joy, your hair is so beautiful. And I strategically was by the drawer where she kept the scissors. And so I pulled them, yanked them out, and I grabbed my side ponytail, and I said, if you don't take me, I'm going to do it myself. She said, get in the car. So I had a voice when I was little, but somewhere along the line, right after I got my hair cut short like a boy, just like Alex's, something happened in my environment. Something happened in my experience, and I lost my voice. I think a lot of the messaging that I got was, don't make dad angry or you're going to get the belt. In school, I learned you need to have friends or you don't exist, you're not going to matter. And so I lost that strong voice. And I didn't regain it until December 3rd, 2017, when I was about 35 or 36 years old, when I did a lot of therapy and worked through and realized that I had these crazy irrational belief systems that said, don't speak up, don't fight for yourself. If you're not successful, you have to die. And it was so empowering when I had that moment, when I finally realized, holy shit, it's okay to be myself, and it's okay to try things and make mistakes. It's okay to be me. I can do this. And that gave me so much empowerment to question those irrational beliefs and replace them with more healthy, rational ideas. It gave me the courage to quit a job that I kept for 13 years. And it gave me the courage to go and try to do stand-up comedy. And that tanked. But it's a lot harder than it looks, Everyone that tells you should do it, tell them to fuck off because it's really hard. But I was telling my roommate kind of how, I went to this comedy class and the owner was telling me, I really wanted to have be myself and not fully self-deprecate and fall into that, kind of comedic style. And his reaction or response to my punchlines was, no, you got to act like the sexy blonde that brings home the guy and gets your daddy angry. And I was like, fuck you. So I was telling her that, and she's like, that might not be your style, but, I have this friend that does storytelling. We should go and check it out. So I was like, okay, maybe I can use that to practice, maybe try to make my stories funny and stuff. So I'll go. And so we showed up at Fair Trade in September, and there was, okay, I'm getting to a 7, guys, so the tears might be coming, okay. But we showed up, and there was this woman with a short black haircut, Betty Page bangs, and these librarian glasses. And she was fucking amazing. She was smart, witty, so confident. She made me laugh. I was so impressed how I'm just going to refer to you because we all know who we're talking about now. But I was so impressed how you listened to everyone's stories and you could quickly relate to it with your segues to the next person, and how just funny you were and how meaningful these stories were and how you could stay with everyone when they were being up here vulnerable and you did not shy away. You supported them through every story that they told. And Estevan, man, the same. I'm just so impressed by you guys and what you did. And I got the courage the next time I came. I'm like, okay, man, I'm going to tell a story. Funny. Most of my stories weren't funny. They were really serious. I talked a lot about therapy, so it was quite interesting how not funny I am. But I kept coming, and I just want to say thank you so much for creating this. I'm so thankful that even though I've only been able to do it for a short time, that you've given me a space to exercise my voice and empower me to try to... I've just found it, and I'm just talking or bringing it back up again and telling my story. And you guys gave me this awesome space, this awesome community to be a part of. And I'm so excited to see what you've got coming up next in your projects. And I just wanted to say